You are not bastards. Say that with me. I am not a bastard. Now that that's settled. That's what we just read from Hebrews 12. What did he tell us? He told us this. Now that I've got your attention. That if you are without correction, then you are a bastard. But he said you're not bastards, you're sons. That's the important point that is being driven home there in Hebrews chapter 12. Why is that important? This is important because it is of the highest value for you to know who you are. If you're reading through the book of Hebrews, Hebrews 11 talks to you all about faith. He goes in the book of Hebrews through the priesthood and all the ceremonies and everything that surrounded Israel, except for their understanding of the identity of who they were intended to be. I could be called many things. I could be called a pastor. I could be called an apostle. I could be called a priest. I could be called a member of the church. I could be called many things. But one thing I do not want to be mistaken about is this: being a son. The Apostle John made this clear in John chapter 1. He said, as many as received him. Say that with me, received him.
Received him.
He gave them power.
He gave them power
to become the sons of God.
The sons of God.
That sums it all up in a nutshell.
Amen.
If I received him, because it says he came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, he gave them power to become. That means I'm going to become something. What am I going to become? I'm going to become a son. That becomes my identity. Sherry, that becomes my identity. That's why Jesus came as the Son of God. That's why God came as the Son of God. I used to question that. Why didn't you come as the Father? Because I needed to take on the identity of a son. I had to understand what it meant to be a son. So I've been talking with you. This is the fourth part of this series of teaching. I don't really want to call it a series. You're capturing vital information to your life. You're capturing vital information to every decision that you're going to make from this point forward in your life. Because who you see yourself as is going to define decisions that you make. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm on number 2 on our sheet. We're on the second page of this sheet. If you need a copy of this, good morning, Joe. Good morning, Cindy. Thank you for joining. 4 things that I've been telling you that every son needs. If I am a son, then I need to know what a son looks like. What does a son require? I'm not teaching you on spiritual fathering. I'm talking to you about being a spiritual son. That's how you become a father. You become a father in the Lord to people by first being a son. You can never father beyond your capacity to be a son. You have to make it a goal to be a good son. 4 things that every son needs. The first thing a son needs is a connection. Right? The son is the one that determines that connection. You determine the level of that connection. It's like if you're looking at your phone right now and you were to say, I'm connected to the network, whatever network you're on. They have little bars. Tells you how well you're connected, right? You might have 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bar. I don't know. If you got a real strong signal, then you're at 5G, right? That is the level of connection. The closer you are to the point of the signal, the better your connection, right?
Correct.
You're the one that determines that. In a relationship, not only with God, but with someone that God sets in your life as a spiritual father, you determine the level of connection. Not the Father. You do. That's why the Bible tells us that we have to seek God. You have to seek Him. You're going to determine the level of connection. And that level of connection is then going to establish everything from that point forward. The second thing that a son needs is correction. Say that with me, correction.
Correction.
And that's the point that we're on right now. The 2 other things that I'll just mention are protection and promotion. A son needs these 4 things: connection, correction, protection, and promotion. I'm glad that you've come to this point with me this morning, because once a connection is established, then we can move on into the phase of correction. We've been reading from Hebrews 12. He talks about being a son. They're your sons, not bastards. How do I know that I'm a son? Because there's correction in my life. Does that mean that there's mistakes? Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. When we come into the kingdom of God, we are not perfect beings. Very far from it. We're flawed creatures that have all kind of things that have got to be worked out. Even though I'm born again, perfect in spirit, there's all these mechanisms going on in my mind. The person that I used to be. Did you hear that? The person that you used to be, many remnants of that is still here. And that's what we're dealing with. Now here's the point. My spiritual father said this many times. It's all right if you make mistakes. Just make sure they're new ones. Not the same mistakes. Somebody keeps making the same mistake. It's no longer a mistake anymore. But many times in our ignorance, we will continue to make the same mistake unless someone corrects us. Thank God for correction. You should say that with me. Thank God for correction.
Thank God for correction.
What is correction? It is the proof of love. That's what Hebrews 12 is communicating to us. This is how we know that we're loved, is when God corrects us. Why? Because He's not going to leave us as we were. He even goes on and says, it hasn't even been yet revealed what we're going to become. But we know that we're going to become sons, and we become sons in the image of His Son. Let me say that again. We become sons in the image of His Son. There was only one begotten Son. We become begotten sons. A son must choose to be fathered. Let me say that again. A son or daughter must choose to be fathered. You can be born but never choose to be fathered. That's what it means to be begotten. You become like. You become just like the Father. That's why it was offensive for Jesus to be called the Son of God. Because He was a begotten Son. This doesn't mean that Jesus became God. He was already God. But for Him to be the Son of God meant to the Jewish people that He is identical to, same as, with all the same power, authority as God. That's why it was offensive for Him to be called the Son of God, because they understood that the identity of a son comes from his Father. Thank you. You know, the Bible even says in Hebrews that though he was the Son, Jesus, yet he learned obedience through the things that he suffered. Anybody who loves you enough to correct you, you should thank them. How is a son corrected? I'm on your sheet now. If you'll help me, I need somebody to find a couple of verses of Scripture. I'll get you to read them out loud. Chauncey, could you find Proverbs 1 and verse 8?
Yes, sir.
Salem, you got your Bible there? You find Proverbs 13 and verse 1. Sherry, you got your Bible. Could you find Proverbs 15 and verse 5? There's a lot of wisdom to be understood from the book of Proverbs. Why? Because the book of Proverbs is a book about decisions. The difference in people is the decisions that they make. And that difference is determined by the level of wisdom that they have. Because wisdom is the ability to make decisions based on difference. You can discern or distinguish difference in something. The difference in people. So we're going to be looking at the book of Proverbs a lot.
Yes, sir.
You got Proverbs 1:8. Can you read that to us, Chauncey?
Yeah, this is from the Amplified.
Okay.
It says, "My son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not reject the teaching of your mother."
Now, how is a son corrected? A son is corrected through an instruction. You give them an instruction. I know many times as a father, you may want to beat them.
Oh, yeah.
When they do something stupid. You know, some months back, I came home and I had a window that had been shot out. I wasn't happy. I wanted to hurt someone. But was that going to fix the window?
Depends on how bad you hurt the person that did it.
I had a lot of questions. How do you correct a son? Through an instruction. Son, when you point a gun, don't point it toward the window. Mistakes happen. But we correct through an instruction. Proverbs, can you read that to us, Salem? Proverbs 13 and verse 1.
A wise son heeds his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke.
Interesting. What kind of son did he say listens to the instruction of his father? A wise son. This is going to determine everything about the decisions that you make. I'm telling you all of this. If you don't know this, I'm telling you all of this because it becomes a natural thing here. Whether we're talking about fathering from a natural standpoint or fathering from a spiritual standpoint. Your decisions are determining the quality of your life. Your decisions are determining the outcome of your life. And those decisions are either made in wisdom or they are not. A son only qualifies himself to advance through obedience to his last instruction. Let me make this point very clear. Whenever an instruction is given to you, if someone is a spiritual father to you, I'm telling you this because a son needs correction and you have to see that you need correction. I'm telling you this from a son's standpoint. I'm not telling you this from a father's standpoint. I'm telling you, you have to begin to see that you need correction. A lot of people, they don't want to believe that. I'll just go ahead and tell you, if you believe that everything that you're doing is right, then you're probably a fool, or very close to one. I don't believe that what I'm doing, Elijah, that I'm always doing it right. This is why a son needs a father. This is why a daughter needs a father. I didn't come into this world with all the right information to make all the right choices. If I would have, then I would have been giving instruction to my mother and father. See, this is how you will know when you begin to father somebody in the Lord, whether they are beginning to fall into the foolish category. They will begin to try to instruct you. Did you hear what I just said? When someone is a son or daughter to you in the Lord, and they try to give you an instruction, this is how you will know which direction they are headed. How do I know all of this? Because I've taken on the identity of a son. That's my goal. That's my aspiration. It's not just to be a son, but to be a good son. In that established connection, I have to know that if I am connected to someone that is a father or father figure to me, I have to be open to receive correction. Not just blessing. You know, it's real good. Now listen to me real close. It's real good when dad is giving you things, right? If any of my natural sons, if I said, hey, I'm giving out $20 bills today, get in line, they would be like, yay. But then after I said, hey, I'm giving out free spankings today, get in line, the line would be very short. It's very easy to receive that which seems beneficial to us, but it's not easy to receive what initially doesn't seem beneficial to us. And that is what he's talking about in Hebrews 12. No chastisement seems joyous initially, right?
Right.
But how does a son qualify himself to move forward in life? He has to be obedient to his last instruction. If someone comes to me and they say to me, you know, I really don't know where I need to go from here or what I need to do, and I've already given them an instruction, my first question is going to be, well, did you do what I told you before? And if their answer is no, then there is no need of further instruction. Y'all got that point?
Yes, sir.
You would tell them, go and do what I told you before. How do I know this? I know this in relationship with God, because there's been times that God gave me an instruction, and when he gave me that instruction, there was no further conversation until I was obedient to what he told me to do. And it doesn't matter how long a time that you think, if you think you're going to wait out God, then you are really, really dumb. Because I thought, well, if I just put God off, maybe he'll change his mind, Philip. Maybe he'll get tired of this and he'll say, nah, let's just move on to something else since you don't want to do this. I'm sorry. I mean, you think the patience of Job is something, then you haven't withstood the patience of God. And when you do that, you're doing what he talked about in Hebrews, that you begin to resist God. You're in a bad place. Do we provoke him to anger? You know, it's like if I told my son, hey, go take the trash out. And he says, I'll get around to it. See, when my sons, they listen to this and they try this stuff during the week. Y'all didn't know this. I'll get around to it, Daddy. I meant right now. Do it right now. See, an instruction always comes with a time attached to it. And whether you fulfill that instruction within a certain time is going to determine many things about where you're headed. If you feel like you've become stuck, you can't go any further, any higher. I don't know what's wrong with me, Todd. I just don't know why I'm not growing. Well, let me ask you a question. What was the last instruction you received? And think about that. What's the last instruction that God gave you? What's the last instruction that your spiritual father gave you? And you may say, well, I don't know. Then here's what you need to do. You need to start asking some questions. Because if you don't have an answer, then you need to ask a question. A question is how you always derive an answer. Isn't that the simplest thing ever?
Yes, sir.
See, here's what I learned from my connection with my spiritual father. I knew if I asked a question, I wasn't going to get an answer. I was going to get an instruction. Not that he'd like to give me answers. The answer was simply found in an instruction. So you know what I did? I stopped asking questions because I didn't want any more instructions. That just leads to further stupidity. So this leads me to this point. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dot down, and number 2. I'm at number 2. A spiritual son needs correction. Any son who doesn't see a need for correction doesn't have a heart of wisdom. If you're a wise person, you are looking for correction. You're not looking to correct other people. I hope you just got that. I can always tell. I see people out here. I got people that I see they think themselves as doctrine police or they're heresy hunters or they're always trying to correct everybody and everything.
Yep.
See, what they see is they see everything wrong out here. But they can't see what's right up under their nose. A heart of wisdom is not going out trying to correct everybody and everything. It looks and wonders what needs to be corrected in here. Now, I'm not saying that to turn you inward. Because as you develop and you grow and you age and you mature in the Lord, I don't care how old you are. You can be 100 years old and be a fool. There's a lot of 100-year-old fools.
Amen.
Age has nothing to do with this. Somebody can say to me, well, I've been following Jesus for 45 years, and you're still wearing spiritual diapers. The Bible talks about that. Hebrews says, you got to get past this milk and get on to some meat here. You're babes. Next point here. Don't expect a spiritual father to bring correction where you are not asking questions. Let me say that again to you. Do not expect someone who is a spiritual father to you to bring correction if you're not asking questions. And don't expect him to ask the questions for you. You've got to begin to ask the questions. This is the purpose of the connection. When I met Dr. Kreitz, he said, what do you want out of a relationship with me? In other words, why are you here? Why are you here? You got to know that. Why are you here? Why am I in your life and why are you in my life? Are we just old habits? Are we new acquaintances? What are we? What's the purpose here? See, if you don't know the purpose of something, abuse is always going to be inevitable in whatever case it is. And I was able to answer that question like this. I need someone who's been where I haven't been, done what I haven't done, and understands what I don't understand. I need that. That's what I need, and I need somebody to tithe to. He said, well, let's fix the last one first. Where's your tithe? And here it is. Bam. All right, now let's move on. Let's solve that problem. It was a problem-solving point. But I had to understand. Do you see what was happening? I'm setting the level of the connection and the relationship and where it's going to go. Are you with me? Not him. I was. It's all my choice here. I'm choosing to be fathered. I'm making myself not only accountable. This whole accountability thing, I remember the whole accountability thing that swept through the body of Christ and the promise keepers and all this. It was among brothers. There still was not a father figure in it, and that becomes a problem. Because I'm going to tell you what, when brothers try to hold each other accountable, it turns into a fight somewhere. Hey, you're supposed to be helping fold the clothes. Get over here, dummy. You think I'm going to do this by myself? It doesn't work well, does it? But when Dad walks in the room and he says, hey, boy, get over here and fold them clothes with your brothers, the whole atmosphere, everything changes. Why? Because there's the dynamic of the understanding that somebody here is in authority. And a person does not look at a brother as having authority over him. This is why the Bible says that you have to submit yourself. You have to humble yourself. You have to have somebody over you in the Lord. That's why he says, give double honor to those whom it's due. Those that are over you in the Lord. Somebody's got to be over you. I'm not out here the Lone Ranger. Do you know the Lone Ranger was not alone?
That's right.
He had Tonto.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people out here that they think that they runabouts. Actually, what they are is they're bastards. There's a lot of Christian people. This is all turning into a book, and that's going to be the name of my book, and they entitled it today. You're not a bastard. If you're not a bastard, then you're going to have to stop acting like bastards.
Amen.
Because bastards have a certain spirit about them. A bastard has no father.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know who his father is.
That's right.
If you don't know who your daddy is, then you're a bastard. Is this term just bothering y'all? Because it doesn't bother me. Because this thing is rampant in the church. It's rampant in Christianity. People say, well, God's my father. Let me tell you something. If you can't answer to a person, who's going to know whether you really answering to God?
Amen.
I don't need no man telling me what to do. Wow, then you would have had a real problem with the apostles. Because Jesus left them in charge. And that's what they became. And when you're reading 1 Corinthians 4, this is what the Apostle Paul is saying to him. He's saying to the whole church, I'm your spiritual father. Matter of fact, I begot you through the gospel. I'm the one you're going to answer to. I'm the one that's going to bring correction here. And you're going to have to choose the level of that correction. And then he spends the rest of his time talking about everything that needs to be fixed. See, we don't like that kind of speech in the church. We like the good pat on the back, the cheerleader. Hurrah, hurrah, you can do this. Victory through Jesus. Ready. Monday morning, you're going to go win and conquer the world. You're not going to conquer anything out here until you have conquered the problems going on here and in here.
That's right.
Let's start here, and then we'll move forward. My conclusion with that is that if you're not ready to hear or entertain the information needed, why would someone give it? I could take any one of my natural sons right now and tell you things that they need to change, things that they need to stop doing, things that they need to start doing, things that would change the direction of their life. Now, Does that mean that I'm not going to do it? No. But there's some things they're not ready to hear. You know why they're not ready to hear? Because they're not ready to change. And they're not ready to change because they will think that they either know everything or they know more than you. Now, when they're little, they look at you in a way that, you know, they think you're Superman. I remember years ago, I used to tell some of my older sons that God was my boss. Because they were like, well, who do you work for? I said, I work for God. He's my boss. Little did I know, I didn't realize it. You know, I was working bivocationally, had another job, and I came home from work with a picture of me and my supervisor. And they said, who's that guy? And I said, oh, that's my boss. And they were like, oh, it's God. They had seen God. I said, no, this dude is not God. You don't even want to know. But something in there was shaping. I was shaping their mind. I was shaping what they thought. See, as a father, you have to understand that a father's words are very important to you. If you don't have someone who is a father figure to you, some people may say, well, I have a mentor. That's okay. It's shaping the identity. How? Because the Hebrews 12 is telling us, if you don't have someone that is correcting you, then you will take on the identity of a bastard. And there's a lot of people that are living from a bastard reality. And if you can't have somebody who tells you when you are wrong, I'm talking about somebody who's over you in the Lord. My family realized this. They could tell me something, and my wife would say, I can tell you something, and then Dr. Kreitz would tell you something, and it's like, So they tried to get this conspiracy thing going. We'll just tell Dr. Kreitz whatever we want him to know, and then it'll be
done.
Yeah. Do you see how this works? It's not that I'm hard-headed or anything else. Now Chauncey just went, I like to call it supreme tenacity.
You can call it whatever.
I like that. Supreme tenacity. That's
Supreme tenacity. I was trying to make it sound, up there.
Spiritual. Supreme.
Yeah, I had to spiritualize it. But nonetheless.
About time we saw Dr. Kreitz again.
If you're not ready to hear information, if you're not ready to hear it, why would somebody tell it to you? So I gave you some examples here. I gave Proverbs 15:5 to somebody. Who did I give it to?
Me.
Sherry, can you read that real quick? Thank you, everybody that's with me.
Glad to. A fool despises his father's instruction, but he who receives correction, this says prudent, but I'll say is wise.
Can you read that one more time?
A fool despises his father's instruction, but he who receives correction is wise.
He who receives correction is wise. A fool despises his father's correction. Let me stop for just a minute. Thank you, Miss Sheila. Just want to stop and honor Dr. Kreitz. She said he is watching right now.
We love you, Dr. Kreitz. I'll see if I see it.
Love you very much. So glad you are here watching with us.
I hope you heard that supreme tenacity comment.
He probably rolled his eyes at me. So, not only does a son determine the level of connection, a son determines the level of correction. Say that with me. A son determines the level
of
of correction. You know, I can remember years ago, my mother's present. She may or may not remember this. I did something and it was stupid. I don't even remember what it was. You know, most of the time you don't remember stupid.
Right.
But she knew it was stupid. And she said, I'm going to get a belt. And I said, well, you'll just have to catch me. Because when you get back, I'll be gone. And I took off running out the door. And I ran into the woods. And I hid. Now, why did I do that? Because I already understood this thing. She'll calm down. It won't be so bad later as it would have been right now. Right? Because I knew that, you know, there's going to be some emotion fuel in this thing. A wise father does not change his mind about a correction. You hear what I'm saying? I'm talking to you on a spiritual level here, not on a natural level. I'm not telling you that a spiritual father wants to beat you or that God wants to beat you or anything else like that. Because some people think that. If they've had an abusive parent or abusive father figure, I mean, they may have a stepdad that was just a tyrant nut. I don't know. I know when I start talking about fathers with people, there's all kind of pictures in people's minds of what a father is. You have to know about God that any time that you are being brought into correction, it's for your profit. Isn't that what you read, Will? Yes, sir. Whatever he's doing, it's for your profit. He said that we've even had natural fathers who disciplined us after their own pleasure. I've told my kids, I'm going to feel good about this. Mm-hmm. You're not. Sure. I'm going to feel real good about this.
This does not hurt me more than it hurts you.
Yeah, I've heard that stuff. This hurts me more than it does you.
No,
liars. You stop.
Hurts your butt a lot more than it does mine.
What does a son begin to do? A son begins to welcome it or invite it. Now, this is going to sound like the craziest thing to you because I told you I ran. I cannot say that I was a wise son. I was a fool. A fool. But a wise son will begin to invite it and welcome it. How does he do that? With questions. Here's the questions I put. What am I doing wrong? That's a simple question. Hey, Dad, what am I doing wrong? Now, I know that at any time, if I would have asked Dr. Kreitz, what am I doing wrong? There would have been there'd be a response. What am I doing wrong? And it might not be, are you doing this wrong? Sometimes I asked that question, he said, nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing. You're on the right path here. Good, because I didn't know. See, I'm expecting something as a son for a spiritual father to see what I'm not seeing, because sometimes you can't see what you're doing. You may be doing everything right, and you still don't know it. Am I the only one that ever felt this way? I sure hope not. Because things can be, listen, I've been in places in my life where everything seemed like it was great, but I was actually on the wrong road. I didn't know that till later. That's why somebody who has been before you, they know. They can look at it and tell you. I mean, anybody in here who has natural children, it's like you just have a knowing. Boy, you're going the wrong way here. Son, you're going the wrong way. To them, it doesn't look like it. And sometimes it's in the little menial things that they're doing, and you're going, wow, he's got it. And he doesn't even know it. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand where I'm talking from here? What am I doing right? Sometimes that's a good question. Am I doing anything right here? Because I need to know that. I need to know what I'm doing right. I need to know what I'm doing wrong. A lot of times the answers that you're looking for, listen to me very closely on this. The answers you're looking for and the answers you're looking for God to provide for you, many times they will be found in somebody else's mouth. You'll ask, have you ever done this? I've asked and asked and asked God a question, and I didn't get a response. But then the answer I came to look at, it came from somebody else's mouth. That's how I know God uses people. That's how He likes to work. Did you know that? God likes to use people. He likes to use people. Next one. This is a nice one. What do I need to change? What do I need to change? What do I need to change? What do I need to do differently here? Listen, if you're not asking these questions, do not expect anyone who is a spiritual father to you to just blurt it out. Because your question is what tells him you're ready to hear. I don't plan to spend my time talking to anyone who is not ready to hear. You're just flapping your gums. Did you know I could go out here and get a megaphone and stand on the street corner on this town or any other town, and I can preach Jesus to people through a megaphone. And the vast majority of people will just keep on walking. And you'll be an annoyance to them. And you may say, well, shouldn't we do that? I would rather put my energies and my time into people who want to hear than people who do not.
Amen.
Now, does that mean that everybody is going to hear or everybody is not going to hear? I don't know. But I've just reached a point in my life. Here I am approaching the 50. My time is running out. And I've got to make a decision about how I'm going to spend that time. How I'm going to invest that time. Am I going to invest it wisely? And how am I going to do it? My how is all based on my why. Are you hearing me? Because when you're younger, you think that time is just indispensable. You got plenty of it. I'm not going to waste my time with people who are not ready to hear. If you're not ready to hear, don't expect me to give you anything more than the last instruction that you were given. Is that simple enough? Now, if you took that inwardly just now, what I said, good. I hope you didn't become offended by it. Here's what Jesus said to his disciples. Blessed are those who are not offended in me. Blessed are those who are not offended in me. You ever wonder why Jesus said that? Blessed are those who are not offended in me. That's Matthew 11 and verse 6. Here's the reason. It's because when you open yourself, I'm on the dot out beside there, when you open yourself to correction, offense becomes impossible. You want to know why everybody's offended? Because no one can be corrected anymore. You don't know why people get offended at church and leave and never come back? Because they couldn't be corrected in the first place. Well, what you said offended me, Pastor. It offended you because you couldn't be corrected in the first place. That's why it offended you. Because if you'd have opened up yourself to be corrected, you'd have never gotten offended. I hope you understood that point. See, here's the thing. If my spiritual father said something to me that I didn't like, I couldn't be offended with him because I was the one that asked the question. God. How you going to get offended when you ask a question? Why, because you didn't like the answer? Then you just proved that you were a knucklehead. If my son came to me and said, Daddy, what am I doing wrong? And I said, this, this, and this. And then he gets, wow, I never in my life had anybody talk to me that way. You just proved that you were a number one knucklehead. Not that I needed to prove, but you just did it all. I mean, you made it real plain. Knucklehead with capital K, knuckle. Knucklehead. See, all these people that are offended, you just got a whole new revelation about them. They're knuckleheads. Well, I'm offended. I hope that offended you, what I just said. Because if it did, then you just proved that you was a real knucklehead. Now, everybody ain't qualified to correct you, so put that out of you. Put that out of your mind. That's what all these people out here, they're trying to correct everything and everybody and correct everything in the world, and they think it's Joe Biden's fault, and they want to blame whoever. I cannot change all of these things. I can't correct them. Now, I get on the gripe wagon every once in a while and ride it for a little bit, and then I get off. You know, because I realize I was wasting my time again. There I went, wasting my time. I got pulled over into this and that. I can't solve that problem, but I can solve some. And that's the ones that I need to focus on.
Right.
You can't correct without connection anyway.
No. Can you turn that ringer off? Thank you. I said offense becomes impossible. Did you know that you can put yourself in a position where it becomes impossible for you to become offended? Y'all told me you wanted me to take it slow through this, so I'm taking it real slow right here. Because Jesus said, blessed is he that is not offended in me. He wasn't talking to the world. He was talking to his disciples. He was talking to those that he was the fathering in the Lord. He was the father to them. Philip, have you not known me so long? They said, show us the Father and it'll suffice us. Do you not know? You don't know? You don't know, Philip? You've been with me all this time. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Bam. What is it that happens here? Correction takes a measure of humility to be told when you are wrong, or when you're being stupid, or when you're being dumb, or when you're being ignorant. And sometimes you don't know that. Levi, you need to come back over here. It takes a measure of humility in the first place to humble yourself into this position. You want to know why most of the church and people don't advance? Is because they're not willing to humble themselves in the first place. You can't. That's how the kingdom works. The king, if you want to be, this will all lead into the area a son needs promotion. But a son cannot be promoted where he will not be corrected. Let me say that again. A son will not be promoted where he cannot be corrected. A son will not be promoted where he cannot be corrected. A son will not be promoted where he cannot be corrected. So you've got to see something. You want to go? I'm ready to go up with the Lord. I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm ready to go to the next dimension. I'm ready to move forward in God. Well, you ain't moving forward until you lower yourself, until you humble yourself. And you have to humble yourself to hear an instruction, and that instruction is typically going to be a correction that needs to be made in your life. Correction takes a measure of humility.
Yes, sir.
2 more points on this, and we're going to wrap that up. What happens then? It is the father that humbles himself to deal with your stupidity. And he does it in how? Patience and love and understanding and mercy. What happens with this? Why is correction so important? Because it breaks abandonment. It breaks orphan tendency that is in people. It breaks that bastard spirit, and it reinforces truth. Let me say something about my spiritual father, Dr. Paul Kreitz. Say this. I know a lot of people in ministry. I've known a lot of people in my course of life. I can say this thing. He cares.
Amen.
He cares. And when you found somebody that cares, a whole lot of other stuff don't matter. He cares.
Right.
Now, you want to talk about defensive. If somebody says something about him, I'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You entering into fighting terms now. Because when you sense love, you will do anything to protect it. I believe it is the deepest human need. I believe it is the greatest thing on earth. You know why? Because it never fails. Love never fails. Your faith can fail, your hope can fail, but love will never fail. That's what the Bible says. But you got to know what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Does that mean we always walk in love? No, we don't. But when you have the love of a father, and I can transfer all of this. This is why the apostles, they would die for Jesus, because they knew that dude loved me. He loved me enough to lay down his life and die for me. There's no doubt I'm going to do the same. See, love will make you go and do what you've seen or thought was impossible. That's how powerful love is. When someone senses that they are loved, if someone senses that their father didn't love them, it creates something in their mind. If they sense that their mother did not love them, it creates an insanity in them. Do you know some of the craziest people I've ever dealt with felt like that their mother did not love them? Because she said things. I wish I never had you. You were a mistake. Oh, those words. Do you realize those words, what they are doing inside of another human being and what they're creating? Last point. Both father and son are committed to this process, and connection keeps them both from walking away. There's every relationship. If a relationship has not been tried and tested, you really don't know what it's going to become. Every relationship is going to be tested. God tests us. You can't go any further. Genesis 22, it says, and God tested Abraham. Where did he test him at? With his son. Not just one of his sons, his begotten son, his only begotten son. He didn't say, hey, Abraham, why don't you take old Ishmael? You know, he was just Hagar, something you had, you know, that one night stand you had with Hagar. Why don't you throw him up on the altar and sacrifice him? Well, you know, he ain't nothing like me anyway, so, hey. All right, God. No, that's not what God said. God said, just take Isaac. You know why? Because he's just like you. I want you to put him up on an altar and sacrifice him. Something inside of him would have said, no, this is my legacy. This is my future. This is everything. All of the blessing is going on to this son. And you want me to sacrifice him? Yeah, that's him. That one. All right. That's why Abraham really had faith, because he trusted that even if I follow the instruction, that God has the power to raise him back up from the dead. That's real faith. That's real faith. He didn't decide, at this point, I'm walking away. You know why a son will walk away from you? You know why you will walk away from a father in your life? Because you become afraid. If fear grabs your heart. Do you know why a father will walk away? Because of frustration. You become frustrated with you. You're frustrating me. There's some people that you have to cut off. If you give an instruction, I'm telling you this for your future's sake. You give an instruction to somebody, and you give an instruction to somebody, and they just ain't, you see, they're not going to change. They're not listening to what I'm saying. At some point, you just got to say, snip. They used to call it snipping the apron strings. Snip. You're on your own. Bye. C'est la vie. Figure it out on your own. Because you don't need me in this process. You're being real stupid and you're being real good at it all by yourself. You don't need me here. Isn't that right, Chelsea? That's what you have to do. You just got to say, snipper. Bye. And you can't be afraid to do that. Now, a son's going to walk away because he gets afraid of what you may tell him. You can't be afraid of the next instruction. I've been there. My spiritual father gave me some difficult instructions. They weren't ones that I couldn't do. But there was always the potential for me to become afraid of the next one. Because you may think, well, they're going to get harder. Are they going to get harder? I don't know. They might get easier. If fear grabs a hold of your heart, though, you may say, I'm just going to run away. Get my little knapsack, throw it over my shoulder. That's called prodigal. I'm not so much, listen to me, and this is the end of what I'm telling you, because I learned this from my spiritual father, and I don't know if other people are paying attention. I'm more concerned about the indignant son than I am the prodigal son. The one that stays. Did you ever notice in the story of the prodigal son, the father, there was another son, and he never left. He got mad. This is actually, he may be the one that's the focus of the story. Because he's the one that the father had to correct. He never even corrected the prodigal one. He figured it out. He figured out, I'm dumb. Let me go back to Dad's house. You know what? The one that never left, he's the one that got the correction. He says, son, everything that I have is yours. But we should be celebrating because your brother that was dead is alive and he was lost and now he's found. He's the one that received the correct. That's the one I'm more concerned about, is the one that stays and then gets mad when you welcome the ones that left back in. I'm telling you that for a reason, because there's going to be people that go away from you, and there's going to be people that come back. And then there's going to be people that stay. Now, the one that stayed has not forfeited anything, but he's going to get mad at brothers and sisters, and that's the one you're going to have to keep in correction. He hasn't forfeited anything. Are you following me with this? Please listen to what I'm saying. Because there's a lot of people that are my brothers and sisters in the Lord that I'd like to line them up for a butt kicking. Because I'm thinking, the way you treated my daddy, If there was a butt-kicking contest, I would enter it. And I hope to win the blue ribbon. Because when my foot meets your rear end, you're going to think that I have punted a football and scored a field goal. See, brothers get those feelings, right? Brothers get those feelings. Especially if you did something to my daddy. That's why Peter would pull out a sword. Don't you think you're going to take Jesus? Whoosh. Cut that ear off. I just got your ear because I was aiming for your head. Just think when I draw the second time, that's when Jesus said, put your sword away. Why? Because you're going to get feelings about things. Many times that's going to be the son that is going to have to receive the most correction. I hope you took that nugget and stuck it down in your pocket, because at some point you're going to need to know that information. You with me? All right. I'm going to stop on that as far as correction is concerned today. Next week we will move to protection. Say thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yes.
Protection. I can't provide protection where you're not willing to be corrected either. If you just go out there on your own and come back beat up and bruised.
One thing I like that Dr. Mike Murdoch says, where we struggle is where we have not been taught. Where you're struggling in your life is where you have not been taught. So if we don't allow the people that God put in our lives to correct us and teach us, we're going to struggle and struggle and struggle. So, I mean, I've been thinking about that. Where am I struggling in my life? That's where I need to learn. I need to be corrected so I can move past it.
Yeah.
But some people never move past the struggle because they refuse to learn and be corrected.
Excellent point, April. Anybody else? Something that's on your mind? I'm still on camera, so know that. If you got something you want to share off camera, I will turn it off here in just a second. Anybody, anything? Something you were thinking about? Just like April said, where we struggle is where we haven't been taught. Okay. Thank you for joining me today, everybody who is here. Let me get this a little bit closer. I'm going to finish out with my household of faith here today. Thank you for joining me. This was part 4 of this teaching. You can find it on YouTube as well. You can go to Dr. Todd Williams on YouTube and subscribe to that, or you can go to Beyond Church on YouTube and subscribe to that channel as well. You can find these videos. Also, if you'd like a copy of my notes, you can email me at gobeyondchurch@gmail.com. I'll send you a copy of this. You just have to have the right software to interface with it. It's been my pleasure to be with you. I want you to know who you are. You're not a bastard. You're a son, you're a daughter. And you've got to have a proper identity in a family. We're the family of God, and we've been called to become the sons of God. I'll see you next Sunday back. I'm going to talk to you about a son needs protection. Look forward to it. Bye-bye.